live in a day and age where every manufacturer worth its salt is trying to make a huge dent in the electric two-wheeler market in India. And well, while the Indian manufacturers have tasted a lot of success so far, it's time for the Japanese to take a stab at the segment. Today we have with us the Honda Activa E, and the Activa, as you know, is a household name. Honda is trying to do things a little differently. How good is it? Or how bad is it? We'll find out. Unlike most manufacturers that have fixed rechargeable batteries in their electric scooters, Honda is doing things differently by offering swappable batteries in the Activa Electric. Mind you, these batteries cannot be recharged using a regular charger and can only be swapped with a freshly charged set at a dedicated battery swapping station. This has worked for Honda in international markets. However, India is a different ballgame, and you'll have to stick around till the end of the video to know why. For now, let's focus on how the scooter rides. Well, the performance of the scooter is actually quite good despite the SoC. Now you have three ride modes: Eco, Standard and Sport. And in each mode, there is a noticeable difference in the performance of the scooter. Again, as Eco suggests, it's meant to eke out the maximum performance, or rather the range from the battery. So in Eco mode, the acceleration is on the duller side, but at the same time, it isn't very sluggish, so to say. If you go to Standard, that is a good balance between Eco and Sport. The throttle response feels very measured, very predictable, and I think Honda has been saying that the throttle response is very akin to an ICE scooter. So I would concur that, in fact, that it is actually quite good, quite predictable, both when you roll on as well as roll off the throttle. You can feel that it's quite consistent and predictable. In Standard mode, it was great to filter through traffic as well as get up to highway speeds. But in Sport mode, it really feels alive. It's quite peppy, quite eager to react, and it feels fast. I saw a speedo indicated 85 kilometers an hour on the highway, so it is quite quick on the highway as well. So whether you want to ride the scooter in the city or on the highway, it will never feel out of breath. That makes the Activa E quite versatile, which is always a strong point in a scooter. Even pulling quick overtakes in traffic is not an issue. I preferred riding the scooter in Standard mode throughout most of the test, and I feel that's all the performance and responsiveness you'll need in the city. While Honda has got the performance aspect right, the ride and handling was a mixed bag. Well, the ride quality is on the firm side, especially when you're riding at slow speeds, and you will feel some of the bump, especially at the rear. I can tell that that's because there's a bigger wheel at the front, there's a 12-inch wheel at both ends, and there's limited travel at the back. So if they keep a very soft spring, it might end up bottoming out, especially when you have two people sitting. That is a preload adjustable spring, so you can change the preload settings to an extent, but it is on the firmer side. But as is the case with most scooters that have a firm ride, you go a little faster over some of the bumps, and it feels a lot more settled, more absorbent. So you can make do with it. It isn't a deal breaker as such, and the ride never felt jarring at all. As for the handling, it's quite easy, neutral, well balanced, and very predictable. So there's nothing wow about it, but at the same time, there's nothing that puts you off. It's a very predictable scooter, very easy to get used to, very easy for a lot of people, for different age groups to ride through traffic or even corners. So overall, in terms of ride and handling, it's quite a sweet package. We spent the better part of the day riding through Bangalore city, and this was in mixed conditions. From heavy traffic to open highways, we put the Activa E through it all. Honda claims that the battery has a range of 102 kilometers as per the Indian Driving Cycle, or IDC. In the mixed conditions that we rode, the battery lasted around 80 kilometers before depleting completely. What is quite commendable is that even when the battery SoC drops below 10%, even at 5%, even at 2%, it doesn't feel sluggish or really out of breath. It's keeping up with moving traffic. I could sit at 40, 45 kilometers an hour, 50 kilometers an hour, which is a decent speed. So even at that SoC, you aren't riding that slowly that you end up being a traffic hazard. That said, even when I was riding the scooter at 0%, I could still cover about 2 or 3 kilometers till I got to the battery swapping station. So I really depleted the battery till this very end, and it still had some juice left. So the performance of the scooter is actually quite usable when you're at a very low SoC, and I think that's a very good thing. Once I reached the station, the swapping process was quick and easy.
and I was back on the road with a pair of fully charged batteries in a couple of minutes. I'd give it to Honda for the efficiency and convenience that a battery swapping station offers. However, there's a catch, which I'll get to later. For now, there's more to what the scooter offers.
The ergonomics of the scooter are actually quite comfortable. The seat is spacious both for the rider as well as the pillion. There's a lot of room on the floorboard. I have a sized in boots and there's enough room to even store bags. There are two hooks over here, one in the front, one in the rear. So you can store your bags over here and still keep your feet on top. But one issue I feel is though the handlebar is low and nice and within easy reach, once you turn, as you can see, it's brushing against my knee. So if you're as tall as me, I'm 5 feet and 11 inches, you will find an issue with turning the scooter in a tight space unless you probably take your leg off and then take a tight U-turn. Otherwise, it's quite comfortable and I don't think there'll be any problem when you're commuting to your office and back home.
The design of the Activa E is also quite attractive. Styling elements like the LED DRL bar, the shape of the headlight, the neatness of the lines on the side panels or the tail section with the large LED tail light are well executed. Even the diamond cut finish on the wheels look great. The features list is also comprehensive.
The TFT display is actually quite crisp, as you can see. You have maps, you have a lot of information here. There are 3 modes, so to speak. So you can go to Eco, or you can go to Standard and press it once again and go to Sport. And you have your battery capacity shown over here. This is your odometer. And when you want to probably navigate to a place, apart from this, one second, you can also have music controls over here. And let's talk about navigation now. For example, you go to the app and navigate your way to a place. Say Kubon Park here in Bengaluru. You can just select accept this from the app and it shows you the route. It is quite detailed, and as you can see, you can zoom in, zoom out the maps. It shows you your ETA, it shows you the distance, and it also shows you the battery percentage that will remain once you reach your destination. So it helps you calculate your battery SOC and if you need to go and swap your battery. So currently it has a range of 95 kilometers and the battery percentage will drop to 83% by the time I reach Kubon Park in Bengaluru, while currently I'm in Yashwantpur. So very detailed, very useful map again, and I think is one of the best that I've come across.
So far, the picture looks quite good for the Honda Activa E. But here's the other side to the story.
The 2 problems that I see with the swappable battery tech of the Honda Activa E. First of all is the battery as a subscription plan. The base plan is a little over 2,500 rupees plus GST, and then you have the top plan that is at 3,500 rupees plus GST per month, and you're restricted as per kilometers. We're going to put the table down there to show you what it is exactly. Now when you calculate the cost of subscription on a monthly basis, you might end up spending well over a lakh over the course of 5 years, and that's quite a lot of money. You're spending as much money as you paid to buy the scooter in the first place. And I'm just talking about the base variant. So if you consider the top variant, you're spending a lot of money as well. So you have to factor in all those maths while you consider buying the scooter. The second is, and I think the bigger problem for me, is that I feel shackled by the whole network. Now Honda claims that they're going to ramp up the battery swapping network, but think about it. You have to make calculations as to where you will go, the places that you need to visit as per the range, and then you need to factor in whether a battery swapping station falls in the way in case you want to probably take a detour and you want to swap your battery and you do not have enough range. So you have to make all those calculations. Now, as I mentioned before, the maps works really well. You can guide yourself to the swapping station. You got to make all those calculations before you start moving around on this scooter. So for the sake of the scooter, Honda really needs to ramp up the battery swapping network at a rapid pace.
And this is like a catch-22 situation for Honda. It needs the battery swapping network in place for people to find the Activa E convenient enough to buy. On the other hand, Honda also needs a sizable number of scooters to be sold for them to make sense of the massive investment that will go into setting up these battery swapping stations. Honda claims that it intends to set up a network where battery swapping stations will be present within a 5-kilometer radius of each other. How it plans to do so and at what rate is still uncertain. The idea of spending a minimum of over Rs 2,000 every month to keep the Activa E running is also going to be difficult for the Indian consumer to digest. Perhaps Honda can look into introducing a pay-per-use scheme for the battery swap, which will make it more affordable and reasonable for the buyer. Then there's the lack of storage space under the seat, which only leaves you with 2 bag hooks and a couple of pockets behind the front apron to store items. Honda persistently says that the Activa E is only meant for those who want a city runabout as an alternative to their cars. So, the question of storage space to carry your office laptop bag, groceries, or other paraphernalia won't arise. The problem, however, is that the lack of storage space throws a lot of the practicality aspect about the scooter out of the window. This is another point that one needs to consider before putting the money down on the Activa E.
Alright, to sum up the Honda Activa E, now there are a lot of things going for it and few things that aren't. I think the styling is really nice. I think it's a very good looking electric scooter. Fit and finish is typically Honda, quite neat, and the quality levels are also quite good. They've got the ride and handling quite good. Ergonomics are good. I like the TFT screen as well, and the way the maps function. I think it's one of the best I've come across in an electric scooter so far.
Even the performance of the scooter is entertaining enough, while the battery range is decent as well, but not as much as some of the other scooters in the segment. However, there are a few aspects that hold back the Activa E.
There's no boot space to speak of, so a lot of people will be put off by that. And then there's the battery swapping network that Honda really needs to put in place for customers to put their faith in Activa E. So if you're a Honda fan or an Activa fan and you wanted to move to the electric two-wheeler space, it's quite an interesting proposition for those for the most part. We will wait to see how the network expands and what Honda does in terms of, we'll wait to test this scooter out thoroughly back in Mumbai, where we can put it through a proper range test and see what it's like to live with the scooter to give an even more conclusive judgment about the Honda Activa E. So let us know what you think about the Activa E in the comments section. What do you think about the design? What do you think about the subscription plan? And would you put your money on it? And if you watched this video so far, and if you come to the end of this video, well, thank you so much for watching. And please subscribe to the BikeWale India channel.